Hi, I'm Emily,
Hi, I'm Tim.
and we're from Guide to the Magic. So we this week have been to Chessington World of Adventure. We are trying to explore a few more UK theme parks. We've been more exploring sort of American theme parks, so the
So we've traditionally done a lot of Disney. We've done obviously Walt Disney World in Florida, Disneyland Paris. We've been to Universal parks and resorts as well. So we've been to the sort of the larger American mainly theme parks is what we're used to. We've done a few of the UK theme parks in the past, Alton Towers, but we thought actually let's this winter let's go and explore some of the UK theme parks just for comparison of what we experience in the US.
Absolutely, and we're also doing it as a little bit of a weight loss challenge, so trying to see what we can get on this side of Christmas compared to what we can get on after Christmas, particularly as we've got quite a lot of trips planned next year, which
Yeah,
you would have seen in our introduction video. So we went to Chessington on a Sunday. We don't normally go to theme parks on a Sunday. We we do like to go to Disneyland Paris on a Sunday. Sunday evenings at Disneyland Paris, best time to
yeah,
go.
definitely.
But we don't tend to do day trips on a Sunday. We tend to try and go during the week. But unfortunately, due to work commitments for me, we weren't able to go on the Monday. We have to go on the Sunday. So we got to Chessington not long after it opened. I
So there
think probably
was
only 10 minutes after
Yeah,
it
there was
opened.
quite a big crowd there though when
It
we
was busy.
opened. There's quite, the car parks were really, not full, but they were filling up.
Yeah,
And yeah, the usual sort of mix of demographics for Chessington. It's got a sort of younger demographic, certainly more family friendly demographic, certainly to that of Thorpe Park, which we did a few weeks ago.
absolutely. So the first thing we did was just sort of wander around and explore a little bit. So Chessington is a zoo, started out as a zoo. Um, I would say it is more of a traditional zoo than what I'm more used to sort of larger safari parks. We did have Bristol Zoo, um, but I grew up mostly going to Longmead. We've been to West Midlands a
West
couple of
Midlands Safari
times.
Park, and obviously we go to Animal Kingdom
Mm.
in the US in Walt Disney World, which is a great sort of blend of theme park and sort of zoo safari park, done on a really sort of big scale
Absolutely.
and to a really high standard with high standards of animal welfare. It's quite difficult not to make comparisons between Animal Kingdom and Chessington.
Very difficult.
Very difficult. So we probably will use Animal Kingdom as a bit of a reference point
Yeah.
throughout this episode.
So the one thing I would say is it does the animal enclosures to me feel particularly small. So even if so, the first thing we went to was the gorilla talk, and even if you look at the old Bristol Zoo gorilla exhibit, it was extremely tiny. So Bristol Zoo was quite famous for its gorillas. They're currently building a new habitat for them at the Wild Place. Um, but this was probably quarter the size, I think, with the
Yeah, it
same
was
number of
quite
gorillas.
quite small, and I think where to view them from was quite limited. It was
Yeah.
all behind glass, which when we actually went to the talk, they actually held the talk in a place,
Yeah,
and
it
that
was
made
quite a
it quite
small area
confined.
inside that the talk was in.
And the acoustics weren't that brilliant because again, big sheet of glass just
Yeah.
made it quite difficult to listen to be
It was a
honest.
really good talk. It was really interesting. They were feeding the gorillas at the same time as well, and so the gorillas were really active. But it was just a bit confined and claustrophobic, was
Both for the
where the
people
talk was.
and I don't know how much backstage space the gorillas
Yeah,
have,
because they
but
did say there was a greenhouse behind, but yeah, I'm not sure how much space they had. It just felt small to me,
I
but
think
that's
there's a
because we're
lot
quite
more.
used to larger
Oh
places
yeah, a lot
now.
more new modern safari parks and zoos have much bigger enclosures, and obviously Chessington is an older zoo,
Mm.
and it wasn't tiny.
No,
It
it wasn't
didn't feel
tiny.
inhumane, but it did feel that we've been to places that have had much bigger, much larger, and much more open
Mm.
um, exhibit areas.
Yeah, they had quite a range of ages as well of gorillas. So I think they had a 2-year-old,
Yeah,
but they also had a grandmother there as well.
yeah.
So quite a wide range of gorillas. So we then wandered around. There's a sea life area as well. Went to see the penguins. and then made our way to our first ride, which was Zufari. And I'm going to apologise now, we are going to compare it to Kilimanjaro safaris at Animal Kingdom because it is the same concept.
Sort of.
Oh my life, it is nothing like it. So it appears to be the same concept. It is a safari truck going through some animal exhibits. Now, for anybody that's been on Kilimanjaro safaris, it is huge. Absolutely massive.
It's around about, so for those of you who have not been, it's around about 20-minute experience, and you go through various different habitats, and the key thing about Kilimanjaro safaris in Animal Kingdom, and we will do an episode on Animal Kingdom at some point in the future, but they have built it so you can't really see any fences or boundaries. It really feels like you are out in the wild. They've used
very clever
water quite a lot for separation. There's ditches, and the fences are there, but they are very well disguised on Kilimanjaro safaris. And there is a lot of animals. We've never, I don't know if we've always been lucky, but every safari we have done, we've had close encounters with various animals, mainly giraffes.
We got stuck behind a giraffe the last time, didn't we?
But we have also had, rhinos, elephants, really good sightings of the lions. There's always a lot of animals, and I've never felt disappointed coming off of Kilimanjaro safaris, even though some people do say you don't get sometimes during the middle of the day a good experience.
I think with Kilimanjaro safaris, because it's Florida, the middle of the day is extremely hot and humid, so the animals too tend to hide. So we would always recommend it being one of your early or your late rides for Kilimanjaro safaris. That's when you tend to get the best experiences. So
anyway, we're talking about Chessington.
We are talking about Chessington, not Kilimanjaro safaris.
So let's talk about Zufari.
Zufari. So the first difference I'm going to say between Zufari and Kilimanjaro safaris, Kilimanjaro safaris has no height limit. So I was quite surprised. Zufari has a 1 meter height limit. Restriction, sorry. So you have to be at least 1 meter tall to go on this ride. Now that's because it does have a lap bar. So it's a long lap bar. There's 5 people in a row, and this lap bar just comes down to a standard height. So that is the reason that there is a height restriction on it.
Both Kilimanjaro and Zufari, the vehicles, they do rock around a little bit. They do. You're mainly on concrete roads, to be honest. If you know the ride system, it has got a driver. It is a free moving vehicle. It does wobble. You do model, but that's just giving them the same sense of being in a safari. I think on Kilimanjaro in Animal Kingdom, you can hold a child on your lap. You can't pass them around, and they are quite strict with the sort of safety of passing the children around. They want them to be either on your lap, held on your lap for the whole duration of the trip. But there's no restraint at all on that ride vehicle, on that truck, and there's the doors that sort of come down, close next to you. And I've never felt unsafe. I've never felt the need for a restraint on Kilimanjaro safaris. No. It does wobble around a little bit, but not more excessively than you would do if you were in a normal vehicle. And you're never going that fast. You're probably going around 5 miles an hour, so having any sort of seatbelt restraint probably wouldn't actually give you any benefit at that point. No. Whereas they have this lap bar system on the Zufari, which I'm not too sure. It only came down to the largest person, so
it wasn't even that. It was just a standard. It just came down. Yeah.
So if you were particularly small, you were not. That restraint is not actually going to do anything to you.
No. I think it was more of a deterrent to try and stop people getting out. But it just means that anybody under 1 meter can't experience the safari. Now, I use the word safari very loosely. So
it's a Zufari.
Well, yeah, it is a Zufari, but it was a safari. They advertised this as a unique blend of thrilling safari park ride and real animal encounters. So the first place that we stopped, we saw one giraffe. Just one giraffe, nothing else.
They also said where we stopped didn't feel very natural. We were sort of on a concrete road. There wasn't really any scenery there. There was a few trees off to the other side that had some leafage for the giraffes on, but then there was just this one giraffe stood, I think basically in the gate to the
The
giraffe
house.
house, basically,
Yeah.
and just didn't feel like you were seeing animals in their natural environment.
No. So that was it in that bit, and then we moved on to the next bit. And there was one rhino and some flamingos. I think. Is it flamingos?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and a few deer.
Common
Common,
element.
common out, some like grazing animals.
Um, and then we went into this weird cave thing with some like projection.
Well, I think a cave would be actually giving it credit where it's not due.
It was a shed.
It was a warehouse of basically corrugated iron. You could go in, you had no illusion that you were in a cave whatsoever, because the set pieces that they had, there was some fake rock work, but they didn't extend to the ceiling. You could see the I-beams of the ceiling, you could see the corrugated iron work. And then in this cave, there was some sort of projection effect supposed to be happening. Not too sure why. There wasn't really any lead up of story. Apart from we were going into this magical cave, and the projection effects were very poor, to be honest. They were done on standard projection screens, or things that you use in classrooms, or to project sports onto a screen. They were using those, so it wasn't really high quality, it wasn't high definition, and I don't really understand why it was there, apart from possibly trying to mimic a bit of Avatar or Pandora from Animal Kingdom, because it did have that feel of the foliage and the flowers opening out, but I didn't really understand why it was there, what purpose it was, and what it was adding to the experience, because it didn't really have any story. It didn't. There was no animals in there. It was just watching sort of some really poor quality projections of some foliage changing throughout the transition.
And then we went around the corner, and I think I turned to you and went, "Oh, was that it?"
Yeah,
because that was it. So
we didn't time it.
We didn't time it. It was very short, and it was advertised as like a 45-minute wait, I think.
Yeah, I think we caught it at a good time.
I think
we only waited about 20 minutes. Yeah, but yeah, it was not worth 20-minute wait, to be honest.
No, I think you see more animals just wandering around the park, because there was a bit off towards the hotel where you could wander, and you could probably still see the giraffe from there, I think.
I mean, I don't know if they have different routes, and if you go on a different day, you'll get a different experience.
Maybe.
But
there might be more animals out on a different day. But the actual exhibits themselves were quite small as well, weren't they? So I can't imagine there'd be that many animals in there. So yeah, don't wait. I wouldn't wait 45 minutes for it. If you want to see some animals, I'd go for a wander instead. So after Zufari, we went for our first roller coaster. So there is a fairly modern Jumanji area at Chessington. Chessington seemed to be doing quite a lot of new, adding quite a lot.
I did well. Chessington, from what I know, is they are moving more into this sort of family-friendly experience. So they are putting new areas in, new lands in, and one of the new lands that opened in 2023, I think, was a Jumanji area. Now, Jumanji, obviously, from the film franchise, there's been the new recent films, but also I think it took a little bit from the original, actually, to be honest. We did the one roller coaster there. There is a couple of other flat rides.
We did 2 roller coasters.
2 roller. No.
Jumanji, sorry. Yeah, there's Jumanji. 1 roller coaster and there's 2 flat rides. We only did the 1 roller coaster. As we said, it was a Sunday. It was quite busy, and we're not big fans of waiting a long time for rides. So yeah, we will go back another day and do some more. This was Mandrill Mayhem. So if you remember from the Jumanji films, Mandrill's chasing you. That was essentially the premise of this ride. So it is a B&M wing coaster on a hydraulic launch track. It is a shuttle coaster, so there is only one car.
One train.
One train.
Shuttle coaster basically means it goes backwards and forwards. It's not a continuous loop.
Yeah. So this does have a height restriction of 120 to 195 centimeters. Now it's got an upper restriction because it is an overhead shoulder restraint. I'll put some photos in. It's more of a vest, wasn't it, rather than a.
Yeah, it was. I mean, to be honest, it was the same ride, the same, essentially the coaster train and the coaster train and the restraint and the seat are exactly the same as Swarm that we went on at Thorpe Park. So, sorry, mine's going. So, yeah, that bit's the same. What's different about this is the launch mechanism, and it's not a continuous track. So that's and it's a bit more modern, bit smoother, but essentially the train and the restraint and the seating arrangement is almost identical to Stealth. So. Swarm. So
it's the over the shoulder with a vest, and then it's also a seatbelt up through the legs. Now, as you can see, again, I did not get on this ride. Now, Tim went through the single rider and got almost straight on. I think you got on within 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And did note that in the queue, it was advertised that there is a larger seat available. I have checked the outside of the ride. It's not advertised on the outside of the ride that there's a larger seat available. Now, the one that's outside is the standard seat, so the one with the single seat belt. Now, I didn't see what the ones were on the ride, but I would presume
they still had a single seat belt.
Okay,
but the seat belt was orange. There was, I think the seat belt was just a little bit longer.
Okay.
Now, because I went in single rider, I tested the ride seat outside. I fitted. I went onto single rider, and I probably was a little bit tighter than the test seat, but not a huge amount. So I don't know how much bigger those tests, the actual larger fitting restraints would be compared to the standard one, because I did manage, with a little bit of a push from the ride attendant, I managed to clip in without any issues. But I think it probably would have been a bit easier on the larger fitting seat, because I'm a little bit smaller than Emily, but not hugely, to be honest. And I think again, ride ups were much better than Thorpe Park on this ride, and they were more than happy to sort of help me in. And there was a sign on the just as you got into the sort of boarding area to say if you need a larger seat, perhaps in row. Did it say row 4?
You didn't tell me.
There is there was one some larger fitting seats in those rows.
So Chessington, it'd be useful if you put that on the outside of the ride, so that we know that we're able to access it. But you really enjoyed this ride, didn't you?
Yeah. It's not as fast as Swarm. I mean, I get Swarm and Stealth mixed up in my head. Swarm is Thorpe Park's a continuous loop, and you go up a lift hill, and it is quite pacey. This Mandrill is a launch, and the launch is quite brisk, but you don't actually gain that much height. So you start off by just going backwards, and then it launches you forward through the station. You go through a few elements. I think there's a corkscrew element, and then you go round up a spike, and then you come back and do everything in reverse. I did find when you did everything in reverse, you did the elements quite a bit slower, so you actually felt yourself upside down for quite a long time as part of that. And it does invert this coaster, so that's why they need more sort of restraint.
They did make you take your glasses off.
Oh, they also, she insisted I take my glasses off and put them on the shelf on the side as well, which so I don't know if they've had people lose things.
We're going to get some straps for glasses. We don't like glasses. If anyone who wears glasses are expensive. Yeah. But we don't like leaving them out on the side.
But also, I do like to actually see what's happening when I'm on the ride, and I don't normally have to take them off, but on a few of the rides recently, especially the more thrilling rides, I've had to take them off or been asked to take them off.
Yeah, so we're going to get some straps, so we'd have to do that. So after Mandrill Mayhem, we went to Rattlesnake, which is sort of a Mexican mine themed area. This is quite an old ride that doesn't look like it's had much TLC. So
I'm sure it's they do all the necessary safety checks.
Oh yeah, absolutely. But it doesn't look like it's had much of a refurb at all. So it's a 1998 Mara Wild Mouse classic. It does. It's got quite a high restriction on this one. It's 140 to 196 height restriction. I'm assuming that the 196 is so that you don't hit your head on things.
Possibly.
Because it's quite compact. For anyone who's been on Wild Mouse before. It is, so there's 2 people in the front, 2 people in the back. They were running at sort of quite a reduced capacity, so they allowed us to do 1 in the front, 1 in the back. It's a single lap bar that would be over the 2 of you, but he told us to sit in the middle. So the middle of the lap bar just came in between our legs. It was quite comfortable.
I think we would have been uncomfortable if we'd tried to sit together.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, I quite liked this ride.
For a mouse.
For a magic mouse, for a wild mouse, it was actually quite good. Even though it's fairly old and hasn't had much refurb, that actually was in its favour because it meant that all the plants around it had sort of grown and.
So the queue, you queue
Oh, sorry, this is Gelatoni. She will probably find somewhere and go to sleep.
The queue sort of winds around the ride area essentially, and you go through a few caves, I'm assuming.
Oh, she'll pull the shelves down.
They're new. She was just exploring.
Sorry, we will get distracted by her. Very
sorry. There's a few sort of animatronic elements in there.
Yeah, there was the rattlesnake that looked like he hadn't been dusted since the 90s.
Yeah, it all just needed a bit of a clean and a paint, to be honest. But the overgrowth, because it's in a wood area, it actually made it look really good.
Yeah.
So it is quite sort of overgrown, and that sort of adds to the element in the queue. To be honest, it made it feel more like you were in jungle, I suppose.
Yeah. Or an abandoned mine.
Yeah. So that was quite good. The queue was very slow.
It was very slow, and I think that's because they were running at such a reduced capacity. So they were only putting 1. It wasn't just us; they were putting 1 party in every car. Whereas most cars, they probably could have fitted more people in.
Yeah, I understand not splitting riders or groups of riders up, or not putting groups of riders together mixed in, but because it is quite tight, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it is.
But yeah, it was an enjoyable ride actually.
Yeah,
it had quite a lot of thrilling elements on it as well for a mouse. Not particularly my favourite, but.
No, I don't like it when it swings around the corners.
At the top.
I don't like that. But it was good. So after Rattlesnake, we went on Croc Drop. So Croc Drop was built in 2021. It's an SBF Visa drop tower flat ride, 25 metres. It's apparently, as I looked this up, themed to Sobek, the ancient Egyptian crocodile god.
I can sort of see that sort of mythology.
It was very crocodile and Egyptian.
Yeah.
I didn't quite know what was going on. So this is, I'll put in the photo now, but this is an over-the-shoulder. Brain freeze.
Yeah.
Over-the-shoulder restraint with a belt. Now, in the photo, you'll see that my belt is underneath the restraint. They did come round and then make me put it over the top. It was just slightly more comfortable underneath, and I didn't think it made any difference, but they wanted over the top, so that's fine. There was also, Tim noticed this and I didn't notice, so I haven't taken a photo of it. Behind us, on the back of the seat, was a light that showed whether or not your restraint was down far enough.
And we both fitted on it.
Yeah, we both fitted on that one.
So I think it's got quite a generous.
Yeah, I didn't even have to struggle to get the belt in either. It was tight, but I could do it myself without any help.
Also, you were sat quite straight up. If that makes sense. Rather, when you sit on a roller coaster, sometimes you've got a bit more slouch, so you've got to try and accommodate yourself. So actually, when you're sat up on that, it sort of puts yourself in a better position to get the bar down as low as possible.
Absolutely. So this ride was running very, very restricted. So there are only.
I don't think it's restricted. I think it's just really.
No, I think the ride ops was really slow. It took them a long time to check. So there's only 16 riders per cycle, and they were only running at a capacity of 240 an hour because we were in the queue for so long that we timed it.
It took about 3 minutes 50 to get everybody on, ride the cycle, and then off again, and then opening the doors for the next group to go in.
Yeah, so it was quite a long time. I think, to be honest, there was only one person operating the ride. I think if they had two people checking, it would have been a lot
It
quicker.
took them a long time for everybody getting in, getting seated, and then even waiting for them to come round and check, because they weren't even checking. There was just seemed to be like 30 seconds, a minute of delay, but that obviously would add up over the cycles over an hour.
Absolutely.
To say they've only got one ride there, whereas some parks with
they'd have two towers.
Sort of drop towers, they have two running, so one can be loading while one's running. So
yeah, so it was quite slow. So we only did one other ride, and that was the Gruffalo, just because we wanted to experience a dark ride, not at a Disney park.
Yeah, and there's not many dark rides in.
Not in the UK.
In the UK, I think there's the dragon ride thing at Legoland that we did, the roller coaster that's got some dark ride elements, and then they've got that interactive dark ride over there as well. And this is the Gruffalo, which.
So it's a riverboat. I'll put in a photo. So you're in like a circular boat. It's a maximum of 4 adults per boat or 5 riders. I think if you were trying to get 4 adults in this, it would be a bit of a squeeze. It's a bit like when you try and get in a teacup, wasn't it?
It was quite small. It was almost like a river raft boat, but just a lot smaller, without any sort of like seatbelts or anything either.
Yeah. So you have to step into the boat on a moving walkway. The boats were wet, which worried me a little bit as we were first getting into them. It was quite cold and we were going to get wet.
You got a wet bum.
You do get a wet bum. So Tim didn't actually know the story of the Gruffalo. It came out after him.
No, yeah, but after I was that age to be into the Gruffalo.
Yes. So I remember the Gruffalo book from when I was very little, but this was more based on, I don't know if it's a TV series or a film, but it was more based on that. Now, I struggle quite a lot with sensory things, and I've struggled with this ride. So I imagine if you had a young child who has sensory problems, they might struggle with this. Now, my biggest problem with this was there wasn't like separation of sound in rooms. So we'd be in a room and I could hear still the sound from the previous room and from the next room. So I couldn't actually hear what was going on in the room that we were in. That was my biggest sensory problem with this ride.
I mean, I thought it was quite difficult to follow as a story. The key thing about a really good dark ride is you need to be able to follow the story, follow what's happening. And I didn't really get what was going on, and I just put that down to I've never read the book.
Yeah, but I think it was just difficult to follow. I didn't appreciate the getting wet. I don't think it added anything to the story. But I'm sure that if your kids really like the Gruffalo, they would probably really enjoy this ride.
I mean, you didn't get soaked. It's not Splash Mountain. It's not anything like that. But you did get splashed, and on a cold October day, probably not the thing that you're really going to. Chessington for.
If it was adding to the story, then it would have been okay. But I don't think it was.
I think the other thing that we picked up, I picked up on, was there was quite a lot of elements that are not working on it.
Yeah. So we went up a lift hill at one point, and the Gruffalo was supposed to be walking along next to you, and only one of the projectors out of 3 was working.
There was a couple of other projectors that are not working, and these are not. They're not animatronics. They're not things with moving parts. They are literally light bulbs.
And they weren't even like really fancy projectors. They were like the ones that we had at school. So they're not fancy. And you also notice so there's some screens within the ride, and the theming wasn't covering the screen logos.
So I could tell that it was an LG TV basically. So it's like I can see that they've put effort in, but just missing the mark a little bit. And with that much not working, that ride should have gone down. It should have had it been reset, got the things working and going on. And I don't know if there's a long-term problems or just something.
It is coming to the end of season, so we'll find out next year. So yeah, I think it could be a really great ride if they sorted out the sound, but also the sight lines. So like you could see all the plumbing, you could see the projectors, you could see the LG logos on the TV. I think if they sorted those things out, it would be a really good little dark ride.
Yeah, and then I think it's a case of it's been designed for children, and children probably think it's great, but actually the good thing about a theme park is families can enjoy them all together, and adults spot things like scenery missing, projectors not working,
Yeah.
LG TVs in the ride. We don't go on a ride to see an LG TV because you can probably got one of those sat on. You might be watching us on one now.
Yeah. So we did really enjoy our day at Chessington. We had a lovely day out. We're just picky. Because we're so used to Walt Disney World and Universal, there's just things that could easily be done better.
I think, well, let's do that. Vampire, which is an older, it's an arrow suspended coaster. That was not operating on the day that we went. And the only other major ride that we didn't do was Dragon's Fury.
Yeah, so Dragon's Fury didn't have a test seat, and all day it was about an hour's queue. And I'm not particularly happy queuing that long if I don't know if I'm going to get on the ride or not. So it's the exact same ride, obviously without theming, as Crutch's Coaster in Disneyland Paris, for anyone who's done that. And the last time, we've been to Disneyland Paris for a little while, but the last time we went to Disneyland Paris, I didn't get on that ride. So it's a Mara Extended SC 3000. So exactly the same ride, and I didn't fit the last time, so I didn't really want to wait an hour to then not get on the ride with it being such a busy day. And actually we got there about 10 minutes after the park opened, and only left half an hour before the park closed, so we actually had quite a full day. We went to the pizza restaurant for lunch.
Yeah, we went
that was very
pizza
nice.
And pasta for lunch. Nice, yeah.
Yeah. So hopefully the next time we go, Vampire will be open because I really do want to go on that.
I think also we're coming and giving our opinions from a very, very high standard. I mean, the parks we go to the most, we go to Magic Kingdom in Florida, which is the world's most attended theme park. Mm-hmm. Disney and Universal spend multi-million, if not billion dollars now on their rides, and we do know that sort of our expectations of Chessington and Thorpe Park, Alton Towers are the theme parks in the UK are not going to be as high as when they're spending Disney money, if that makes sense. Yeah. But I do feel for the amount that a family would be paying if you were buying day tickets, it would actually be quite disappointing to have the experience that we had. We didn't spend. We've got the Merlin annual passes, so our daily spend on these trips is not that high.
No, but it's just simple things that really wouldn't take much. So we enjoyed our day. I'm looking forward to going back to Chessington in the spring, and hopefully getting on Mandrill and Vampire.
I mean, the other thing, we didn't do a lot of the flat rides.
No.
They've got a lot of very similar flat rides at Chessington, and there wasn't really enough variety. They're all the sort of like the spinner ride of some description.
And I think because it was quite a busy day as well, they all had a bit of a queue. Like I wouldn't really want to wait more than 15 minutes for them. The water ride was also closed, so we will go on the log flume next year as well.
Yeah, we need to go on a warmer day though, and ideally during the week when there's less people in the queues, and hopefully that we can get on more stuff. I think it's one of those things. It's like just a little bit more, and it could have been a much better experience. And they're not far off, but you can tell that they're not quite even meeting a sort of mediocre level at the moment.
Yeah, hopefully. So Paw Patrol opens next year, and I believe Minecraft the year after. So hopefully that will bring in a lot more guests, and then hopefully Chessington will then reinvest that money. So Paulton's Park did really well with Peppa Pig World, and they have reinvested that money into the rest of the park. So hopefully with Paw Patrol, Chessington will do the same.
I think it shows that that direction they're going. They're definitely going for that family, especially with Paw Patrol. That's going to bring in a much younger crowd.
Yeah.
I hope the rides that they put in there are without height limits.
I think there will be some limits. I think it'd be very similar to Peppa Pig World.
Yeah, and then the Minecraft maybe for a slightly older demographic, a slightly older child than that, but you can definitely tell the direction they're going. I just hope because they're targeting families with those younger children that they don't think they can get away with cheapening the experience.
Yeah, I think Paw Patrol looks quite good, so hopefully not.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So anyway, that's our opinion on Chessington. Do let us know how you feel about Chessington. Hopefully, it might be a little bit better when it's not end of season and on a less busy day because we are not good with crowds. So we will see you again soon.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Bye.